hot sauce in my bag, swag.
So this is the segment where I usually talk about all the shows that I've been watching lately. I have been calling it the entertainment segment, but I am trying to figure out a new name for it because I really don't like entertainment segment. It just is so broad and ambiguous, and I mainly just talk about TV shows, sometimes films, but mainly TV shows. But I cannot think of a clever name at the moment. So for now, we'll just call it I'll name this segment later. It's a little bit more Joe Budden inspired than I care for, but I can't think of another name, so it is what it is. So I have been watching, as per usual, a lot of reality television. I've been obsessed with Real Housewives as a franchise for a long time now. Well, I say as a franchise, but I mainly watch the black ones. The only one that I can't categorize as one of the black ones is Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And that's probably becoming my favorite one at the moment because I really love Real Housewives, but I feel like I've also done myself a little bit of a disservice by rewatching Real Housewives of Atlanta because that was just the peak of Housewives, and I just don't know if we'll get that time back, especially since, you know, Nene, I don't think she'll be on Bravo anytime. I mean, never say never, but I watched her interview with Larry Reid that came out recently, and I'm pretty sure the fact that there's still litigation, I can't see on the horizons her coming back anytime soon. I hear Portia's cutting up on Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, so I am looking forward to watching that. But yeah, ultimately, I just don't know if we'll ever get anything like that again where it comes to Real Housewives of Atlanta. But hey, I realise I also have written them off really quickly from that shitty season we had last season. So I'm prepared. I saw a clip of Candy speaking. She said that they've only been filming this new season for a couple weeks and it's already really good. I mean, of course they're going to say that, but something about it makes me feel like, okay, well, you know what? I wrote you off really quickly. We'll see what next season will be giving. Ultimately, Real Housewives of Potomac is the reason why I even bring up Housewives. So they're back with season 7 and I really don't know how I feel about Real Housewives of Potomac because I really like it as a show, but I just feel like ever since the Monique-Candice situation, there's just something really uncomfortable about the optics that I'm seeing. I do think that colorism is rampant on that season, and I feel like it is giving very much light-skinned girls versus darker-skinned girls, and it just makes me uncomfortable. And I know that it's easy to say, because I'm sure some people say that it's really just a matter of who's part of Giselle's clique. But the way they treat Candice and Wendy and at one point Monique, I can't really think of it as anything else. Because Giselle doesn't have a reason to do what she's doing to Candice. Candice hasn't done anything to her. So the fact that she'd really go as far as to do what she's doing and smear her husband's name in this way for the sake of a storyline, it's really disgusting. It's easy for me personally to take Candice's side, even though I haven't even been her biggest fan. I really didn't like her stance on the whole Monique situation. I'm very much an advocate of do not ask for what you don't want, and Candice was going around acting like she wanted it. Not just with Monique either. Like when her and Ashley were beefing, she would always be doing the most. Like she has a big mouth, do you know what I mean? She was asking for violence on Twitter and in real life. So it was just funny to me that as soon as someone does put hands on you and gives you what you want, now you want to cry and press charges and act like a victim. Like, I'm just like, nah, I'm sorry, you lost the fight. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not saying that Monique should have put her hands on her, because of course I would have loved for Monique to control herself, because if that hadn't happened, she probably would still be on the show now. I know she didn't get fired, but, you know, obviously the things that transpired afterwards is what triggered her to leaving the show. So, you know, I wish it hadn't happened that way. But ultimately, I wasn't a big fan of Candice before that either. So to see everything playing out now, I can still very much see how fucked up it is. And for me, when you couple that up with the way they speak to Wendy, the way they treat Wendy, it's like, yeah, you lot have an issue. Like, you lot are some jealous bitches, let's be real. And it does kind of get to the point where it's like, it's not really that enjoyable to watch because you're gaslighting the viewers. It really infuriates me that they do that. And I hope that they either get rid of Giselle and Robin after this season, because ultimately they're done, on top of how hateful they are. They're boring as fuck. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Giselle, as usual, has no storyline. She's just going to fling her daughters in the way of the lens and, you know, have that be her positive arc. And it's like, your daughters are beautiful and they seem like very sweet girls, so you're lucky for that. But ultimately, you're not really giving us anything. And Robin, I swear, if she talks to us about her and Juan's non-relationship one more, I swear I'm going to lose it. So ultimately, they have nothing going on anyway. So I hope they either get rid of them after this season, or at the very least, they'll see how stupid they look right now and change it up next season. But I have no faith in that because this is their 7th season. But it's mad annoying because that last episode where they did the burn session thing, firstly, the way Giselle and Robin were shouting at Wendy, you can tell, has worked really, really hard to apply self-control this season and make sure she doesn't let them get her out of character, because I swear the way Robin and I would have backhanded one of them. Like, you can't be that close to me and shouting and screaming like that when I'm calm and not posing any kind of threat or aggression towards you, and you are screaming at me. No, I would have backhanded you. Like, I'm serious. Like, it gets like, I really don't like it when people treat somebody like they speak to them any kind of way, so unprovoked and undeserved. And then on top of that, Robin is now getting mad because Wendy is saying that she got out of her seat and got enough. Is that not what you did? And then you're lying and saying Cherie's never had to get out of her seat to stop you from charging towards Wendy like a crazy person. It's all filmed. Like, you look so ridiculous, and they're still gonna continue to gaslight us at the reunion, because usually I'll be looking forward to the reunion, but they're still gonna continue to gaslight us at the reunion. And we also know that at some point Mia is gonna have some kind of beef with Wendy and throw a drink at her. It's just like, the way they're treating Wendy is so not cool, and to me, you can't tell me that it's because of Wendy talking about Giselle's husband last year. Like, Giselle didn't do something to Wendy to make her do that. Like, why are they trying to rewrite history? It's giving Contessa on Married to Medicine. It's really like they forgot that we watched them last season too. Like, we saw you. So it's just like, it's mad weird to me how they're really trying to paint a narrative that Wendy came for them unprovoked, and that's why they don't fuck with her, and she's a horrible person, this and that. It's almost like bullying, because I just don't feel like Wendy, cool, I understand that some people really just don't like her. I don't know why. I feel like she came off really condescending the first season, but I think since, you know, she got her tiggies done and she had a little bit of a reset, I feel like she was a little bit of a different energy, and I'm really enjoying her. And I love her husband and her kids. I just think they have the cutest family. The only thing about her is I feel like she really needs to relax. Like, you're doing too much in terms of businesses and stuff, and not taking care of her health properly. Like, she really needs to do that. But ultimately, as a person, I feel like I enjoy watching her, and I enjoy the representation as a Nigerian woman as well, because I'm Nigerian, so I enjoy seeing that on the show. But ultimately, we don't have to like each other, but the way Robin and Giselle are treating her, it's like you are trying to either provoke her to acting violently towards you, or just completely icing her out so that she gets kicked off the show. That's what it looks like to me, because Wendy can only really talk to Candice, because whenever she speaks to Ashley, Ashley's obviously up Giselle's ass, trying to convince Wendy that she's doing something wrong somehow in all these exchanges. It is looking very cliquey, and it is looking like light-skinned girls versus darker-skinned girls. That is what it looks like to me, because the way they're treating Candice and Wendy is just so uncalled for. And I hope Candice wakes up and realises that she can't trust Robin either, because that is Giselle's sidekick at the end of the day. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Real Housewives of Potomac so far. I feel like it's time to get rid of the green-eyed bandits. Mia, I mean, there's some things I kind of liked about Mia in the beginning. Now I'm a bit like, okay, what are you about to do kind of thing. Like, I'm just looking at her like this. And ultimately, Candice, I feel like, is starting to make me like her again. I'm really happy for her in terms of what she's doing with Deep Space Deluxe. It's such a big deal that she's going to have Trina on the deluxe version of the album. That's huge, and I love Trina, so I'm really looking forward to hearing that. And I really liked Candice's album as well. Deep Space is really good. So I'm ultimately happy watching her story, and I completely sympathize with what they're trying to do to her, because it's really fucked up. And when you think about Chris as well, like, Chris has not done anything to you. Like, you're really, really fucked up. And for Ashley to try and compare it to her husband or ex-husband, whoever he is to her at this point, it's like, no, babe, that's not the same thing, because your husband's actually a pervert. That's different. He really did that shit. So that's not the same. That's not the same. It actually does show that Candice, there's more to her personality than we've seen. Because we've seen a lot of the bright side, a lot of the negative, and I do think that the fact that she was even willing to give Ashley a chance and really try and be a friend, despite the fact that Ashley can't be trusted, clearly, as we've seen now, I feel like good for Candice. Like, at least you tried, and at that point, you can only say that, like, I've given you as much as I can, like, I've done all I can. So she can drag Ashley for filth every time she sees her, as far as I'm concerned, because Ashley, the way she said, oh, oh, the pendulum always swings the other way. It's not so nice as I was like, oh, you really are a nasty bitch. Like, no disrespect. I know I don't know these women. They're real people and everything. But that's fucked up, what they're doing to Chris. And I'm glad that production are producing receipts at every turn. Because you can see, they ain't trying to have no smoke with Candace, clearly. But ultimately, I do enjoy the show. It's just not very nice to watch this reenactment of Mean Girls, the colorist version, you know? Like, it's just, I'm not really feeling that so much. But I'm not mad at the season so far. And yeah, as always, Real Housewives is giving me what I need as a franchise. But maybe next week I'll speak on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City because I'm really enjoying that.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.